1 week until the NHL trade deadline, 5 forward trade ideas. Some that are good, some that are terrible. Coming up today in the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into today's edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that be Spotify, whether that be Apple Podcasts, or any of the other places that you might be listening. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. If you would like to watch the show, you can hit the like and subscribe button. That would be greatly appreciated. Be sure to leave us a review, 5-star review, if you would, wherever you're listening as well, is always helpful here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, which is today presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Use your profit boost on an NBA future, and you'll get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, we are 1 week out from the NHL trade deadline, which is coming our way next Friday. And we're going to dive in today more specifically on some forward trade ideas, where a lot of our attention has been for power play ideas and more scoring depth. We will talk plenty about defensemen as well, assuming the Sabres don't make a trade between now and Monday. It does not sound like they are one of the front runners for Tyler Myers. So if that deal gets done this weekend, probably Detroit or Dallas, it sounds like, not Buffalo, but we'll see on the blue line front for the Sabres as well. But I expect them to do something. I don't know what it will be, but you got an aggressive GM in the past that is now sitting in the chair for the Sabres, getting his first chance to really put a stamp on this roster and do something meaningful that makes it more Jarmo's team than Adam's team. He doesn't need, I think, to blow it up and make it a Jarmo team. You can keep running with Adam's guys here, running under his leadership, and let that cook. It's been going well. They won against New Jersey the other night. So I would not be against not doing anything super major or aggressive, but I definitely think something is called for here to help push this team over the top, get them to that playoff spot, and give them a better chance to do something once they are in the playoffs. So today, I've got 5 forwards that we're going to dig in on a little bit more. Many of the guys that are really thought of as likely to be moved this deadline. Next week, if we have a little bit of extra time, we'll go through some of the dream ideas, guys that probably don't get moved. We have already talked about the big guns on the Blues, Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas. Go back on our feed and find that if you want more on those two. I still think that's the dream idea. That's the number one idea out there, is get one of those two, Robert Thomas or Jordan Kyrou, top line players, guys you'd be committed to for a long time in the primes of their careers that would help you both right now and into the future. And anybody we talk about that's lower than that for this trade deadline is going to come with a yeah, but. There is going to be a downside to almost everybody else that you talk about the Sabres acquiring at the deadline. Nobody is a perfect idea. Again, other than I would say the Kyrou or Thomas ideas are pretty close to that. Their contracts are nice. The age is nice. The players are really good. Even like Elias Pettersson, who we've talked about in the past, you could get him, but the yeah, but there is, well, $11 million, and I'm not sure how if he shot, given what he's kind of gone through or what he's played like and looked like in the last 24 months. So everybody kind of has that, except I don't really feel like Thomas and Kyrou come with a lot of risk. Everybody else does. And that will include the 5 guys that we talk about today. So stick around for that. Nazem Kadri, Vincent Trocheck, Owen Tippett, Jake DeBrusk, and I threw him in at the end because I did get a couple of questions about him. He's a former Sabre. We posed a question the other day about which former Sabre would you like the Sabres to acquire, and I didn't even mention this guy's name because, spoiler alert, it's my least favorite idea of the deadline, but he's going to get dealt. Evander Kane is back on the trade market again, as he always seemingly is. It's kind of incredible he hasn't been traded more in his career. We'll talk about him a little bit later on in the show, and I'll give you a couple of the reasons why I think that is one of the worst ideas imaginable but maybe you think that it's worth some of the stuff you'd have to put up with. So I don't know. We'll get to that later on, though. Ideas I like better first. Let's start with some of the biggest names that are not Kyrou, are not Thomas, guys that are expected to be moved, among the big names of guys expected to be moved. And we'll start out west in Calgary with Nazem Kadri, guy we've mentioned here and there, but haven't really dug into yet. A very good player throughout his NHL career. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. I mean, he is one of the key pieces of that Toronto Maple Leafs team that blows a Game 7 against the Boston Bruins with Phil Kessel and Dion Phaneuf. Like, that's how long Kadri has been a good player. He's a core piece of that Leafs team, pre-Matthews and Nylander and Marner and Morgan Riley. He's been in the NHL regularly since the 2010-11 season. So he's been doing it as long as the Sabres have been in a playoff drought. He is now 35 years old and is in the fourth year of a 7-year contract. So that takes him through age 38 years old. Kadri has a 13-team no trade list, and I have some big questions about this player, even though I do like the player and would be excited if the Sabres were to make this move, because I do think he's still got a little bit of gas left in the tank. But is the speed going away? Is my number one question about Kadri, who has been a very good skater throughout his entire NHL career. And we now can see how good a skater you are. NHL Edge stats. And when you look at how fast is he moving this year for the Calgary Flames, for the first time in his career, since they've been tracking it at least, he's below the 50th percentile in 20-plus mile-per-hour speed bursts. He's never been that low. He has always been above average at least. That could be, I'm on a bad team, we never have the puck, and that contributes to we never able to gain play speed because we can't really move the puck up the ice. Could be an explanation. I always feel like that is a part of this, but when you're 35 years old, I also have to wonder if it's just you're 35 years old, and that's it. So we know the wheels will fall off at some point with Kadri, and I do wonder if that is already happening this year with the foot speed. He is having a down year offensively. He had 24 goals or more in 4 consecutive seasons going back to his days in Colorado, where he won the Stanley Cup. And this year, he is barely going to reach 20 on the current pace that he is presently on. Last year, 35 goals and 32 assists. This year, 12 goals and 29 assists. He is not somebody that I would expect to help the Sabres much on the power play. He is not a guy that is going to be killing penalties for you. And defensively, he's a little bit underwhelming at this stage in his career. But he can still contribute 5-on-5 offensively. And he does have some of those intangible things working for him. Leadership qualities, won the Stanley Cup, longtime veteran, has played a lot of playoff games recently, more so than anything else when he was with the Colorado Avalanche. And he has a aggressive, plays on the line type of mentality that I think Sabre fans would absolutely love. Sometimes he crosses that line. I think he did that a little bit more earlier in his career. But I like the player, good player. Face-offs, gives you a little bit of that, but he's not a great face-off guy. He's a fine face-off guy. He takes a lot of them, playing down the middle. Here, would he play center? That's a good question. I feel like wing might be in his future if he were to play that for the Buffalo Sabres, but he has mostly been a center throughout his entire career, so maybe they would feel more willing to move somebody else around. So when I look at Kadri, speed is a big question. Are the wheels falling off? Offensively, regression from last season. Veteran contract that I have to commit to for 3 additional years after this year. And that would be, I think, my biggest problem, even beyond maybe the speed, would be it's a combination of the two. It's I've got to invest in a player slowing down, and I have him for 3 more seasons after this one. That blocks me from probably doing anything as significant in the offseason. And if he's my big ad of the offseason, I think you could do a little bit better. But you're trying to win right now. The attitude of the player, he's a guy I've liked for a long time. I'll give this a B-. I'm going to give a grade to these ideas, and I will go a B- for the Kadri idea amongst other deadline moves. One other guy to get to in this segment here. Vinny Trocheck, gold medalist, Team USA. Guy that I railed against being on Team USA and still believe that. He should not have been on that team. And I think it would have been easier for them had he not been on that team. But whatever, they won gold, and they get to say that they were right by him being on that roster. New York Rangers center, he is going to get traded. The Rangers might not really fire sale it, but he's the guy that will get moved. He's in the 4th year of a 7-year deal, $5.6 million per year, a little bit more digestible on that front than the Kadri deal. 12-team no-trade list. And this guy, to me, it would be about faceoffs. That's the role he played for USA. It's the role he's played for the Rangers. It's the role he's played in his other stops during his NHL career. He is one of the best faceoff men in hockey. 56% this year, 54% for his career. But he's gotten better over time. I mean, the last 5 years, 55, 56, 58, 59, and then this year, 56.5 at faceoffs. He plays lots of minutes, 20-plus minutes a night. He's going to penalty kill for you. He can play on the power play, but he's really not been very successful at adding to that for the Rangers in the last 4 years. He was a little bit better at it during his times in Carolina and Florida earlier in his career. How would he fit into the Sabres roster? I think he definitely is a guy you would play down the middle. The thing that, to me, I don't feel like I need with Trocheck is he kind of is my Ryan McLeod role. He's better at faceoffs, but defensive situations, shutdown situations, number one penalty killer. I kind of already have that in Ryan McLeod. You want to tell me right now Trocheck's a better player than McLeod? I don't know if I would disagree with you on that. But for the long term, I would rather have McLeod. And for Trocheck, like Kadri, I need to sign up for 3 more years. He is younger. He is 32 years old compared to Kadri. So the idea of Trocheck to me, because there is some overlap, and I think at this stage in his career, I don't see the arrow pointing up. I see it pointing down. Honestly, the defensive shutdown role, this is part of my point why I didn't think he deserved to be on Team USA. The role he's played, he's not as good at anymore. He was great at it for a long time. He was a Selke vote guy. I don't think he ever really came close to winning it, but he would get votes here and there. It's just not him anymore. He's not that level of defensive player. So I'd be out on Trocheck. I give it a C+. By the way, his speed has decreased too. He has been one of the fastest players in the league, 94th percentile or higher on 18 to 22 mile per hour speed bursts. Every year they've tracked until this year, he's in the 75th percentile. Could be bad team, or could be, again, wheels starting to fall off. He's starting to slow down a little bit at this stage in his career. So C+ for Trocheck, B- for Kadri. When we come back, a couple of guys that give you more offense-only type of ideas, even if they might not be bad defensive players. Jake DeBrusk and Owen Tippett, guy we've not talked about at all, Owen Tippett, when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, it's Job Force Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who will actually fit what you're looking for, skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat. I like my stats. In the minute that I've been talking to you already, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support the show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode is presented by Factor. Cold days, which we've had a lot of recently, packed schedules, big goals. That's winter. And when there's not a lot of time to cook, eating well can feel like another thing on the to-do list. You're already shoveling. Why add that? That's where Factor comes in. Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without the planning, prepping, or cooking. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes. The ingredients stand out: lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. Tons of variety, 100 rotating meals each week. New Muscle Pro collection for strength and recovery, perfect for busy weeks when you still want meals that support your goals without the stress. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50off. Use the code LockedOnNHL50off to get 50% off and free breakfast on top of it for a year. Eat like a pro this month with Factor. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. One free breakfast item per box for 1 year while subscription is active. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, we're talking some forward trade ideas. 5 of them today. Nazem Kadri and Vincent Trocheck already talked about. Now, let's get to Owen Tippett and Jake DeBrusk, 2 players that are both reportedly available for trade. And we will start with Owen Tippett of the Philadelphia Flyers. He is going to be one of the younger players that we talk about today. 27 years old. He was actually, I remember him being drafted 10th overall by the Florida Panthers at the NHL draft that was here in Buffalo the year Sabres picked Alex Nylander. I remember not wanting Owen Tippett because he was a one-dimensional shooter. He has become a little bit more than that, but in large part, it's kind of actually what he's become. Exactly what everybody thought when he was picked. He's got a nice shot. He's fast. He's really fast. But he doesn't give you a lot in a lot of other areas. Although I will say, I think he's become a better all-around player than he was expected to be. I was looking around at some of his defensive metrics at Evolving Hockey today. And like defensive EVO, defensive goals above replacement, 51st percentile this year, perfectly fine. Last year, 75th percentile defensively. And the year before that, he was at the 48th percentile. He's not going to be a guy who plays shorthanded or anything, but he's been fine in that department. Totally fine. He is in the second year of a long 8-year extension that pays him $6.2 million per year. So you are signing up for a long-term commitment by making this trade. You might also be asking, well, why is Philly doing this? This isn't a rental guy in his 30s. The report that I read about Tippett and why he would be available is if the Flyers are looking to do a big shakeup and they're looking at guys they could move, you would do that with him now because at the moment, Owen Tippett has no trade protection, none whatsoever. This is kind of the deal with what Pettersson was last year. It's going to kick in with Tippett by July 1st. He will have the right to have a 10-team no trade list. So at that point in time, you might not have as much leverage if you're Philadelphia to create as big of a bidding war as you might like. So with that, he would be, I think, a little bit pricey because of the age. How about how good the player is? He's got 19 goals this year, assuming he gets one more goal. It'll be his 4th consecutive 20-goal season. He is not a guy that really will give you much as a playmaker. He's never had more than 25 assists in his NHL career, and that usually will keep him hovering around that 50-point mark season by season. He is, as I mentioned, super fast. He actually is second in the NHL this year in 22, which is the highest threshold that they track, 22 plus mile per hour speed bursts. McDavid is number 1 by the way, by more than triple anybody else, which is why he's so incredible. Number 2 in the league in 22 plus mile per hour speed bursts is Owen Tippett. The guy is a great skater, and he's at an age where I shouldn't expect that that's going to go anywhere. So there's that. He's not a power play guy, though, which is a little weird. For being such a good shooter, at least you would think he's a good shooter. That's what his draft profile I remember being. He's not a great power play guy. In fact, in the last 2 seasons, which, we're talking about 135 games worth of sample size, he has 2 power play goals. That's it. It's not his thing. And maybe part of the reason why for that, and this is why he's not my favorite, Owen Tippett is a bit of a volume shooter. He is a guy that is not like 10% shooting percentage in his NHL career. He fires it at the puck, or fires the puck at the net a lot. Is he super efficient at it? Not as much. I feel like what Tippett is to me is a bit of an upgraded version of Jack Quinn, which is not a bad thing. I think if you were to make a trade involving Quinn, and by the way, think you'd have to be thinking along those lines. Everyone else we're talking about here is a picks and prospects trade. Tippett, according to Greg Wyshynski, the Flyers are looking for a hockey trade. They're looking for the deal Buffalo and Ottawa made last year, where you're trading a Cousins for a Norris for a Cousins. They want a hockey trade. Okay, well, Jack Quinn. It's the guy to look at. It's always the guy to look at, and in this case, it would be the guy to look at. He is cheaper for Philadelphia. You are not tied to him. He had a short-term deal at $3 million per year. He's younger than Owen Tippett by 3 years. And he actually, like, point-wise, it's the same, right? 37 points in 58 games this year for Jack Quinn, while Owen Tippett is 36 points in 58 games. So this year, offensively, they are kind of the same. I do think Tippett, though, is a better all-around player, and I've got 4 years of sample size that tell me this is how good Owen Tippett is. I have 1 year that tells me that's how good Jack Quinn is. So it's also not maybe a bad contract, right? Like, I know 8 years sounds like a lot, but he makes $6.2 million per year, especially with the cap going up the way it is. That is not a lot. Would you rather have Alex Tuck at $10 million a year? Would you rather have Owen Tippett at $6 million and then pay someone else $4 million? I'd rather have Tippett. But I think because of the volume shooting thing, him not solving the Sabres power play problems, and, you know, not really being much of a playmaker, I am only willing to give this idea a B-. A B- as a trade idea for the Buffalo Sabres. So Owen Tippett, another name to keep an eye on. One more in this segment before we get to how bad of an idea I think Evander Kane is. Jake DeBrusk. We talked about him some on our last show. We talked about mostly him on the power play because he is one of the 5 best power play scorers in hockey in the last 2 seasons. Incredible. But he does it from the net front. And the Sabres' best power play player, Jason Zucker, at scoring goals, is a net front guy. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I want more from a different role on the man advantage. But okay, year 2 of 7 for Jake DeBrusk. He's 29 years old, so that would take him to 34. He's a fine defensive player, no sort of shutdown Selke guy. He plays a little bit on the penalty kill, but not a whole lot. I don't think he would really do that here. And he's a pretty fast skater by pretty much every measurement, like well above average. So 5-on-5, 5 years left on the deal, kind of like Tippett. It's not really that expensive. Does he make your team better right now? Yes. The difference with DeBrusk would be what it would cost. I'm going to make a hockey trade to get Owen Tippett. I can probably get DeBrusk for picks and prospects because Vancouver is at the bottom and they are going to probably be at the bottom. So they are going to be looking for youth. DeBrusk has always been to me a pretty good player. 28 goals last year. This year, he's on about a 20-goal pace. He can play in your middle six. And from the left wing, I like the idea of him and stick him in front of the net on the power play. Hope that helps a little bit too, even though he won't be the zone entry guy. I'm willing to give him a B because of the contract being not that bad and him really helping your team without having to take anything off the roster. And the age, better than Trocheck by 3 years, better than Kadri by 6 years. I'm willing to give him a straight B on Jake DeBrusk. When we come back, one other former Sabre to talk about, because he is going to get dealt, and I really hope it's not the Sabres, Evander Kane, when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their NBA sweepstakes. So here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. Flights, tickets, the whole experience, all included. If you're already looking at the board and you like which team can make a deep run, perfect time to lock it in. Love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or just the conference title, adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. So pick, get your cash, and get sent to the NBA Finals potentially along the way as well. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Stinky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Evander Kane. I like Ryan O'Reilly as an idea. I like Tyler Myers as an idea. I hate Rasmus Ristolainen as an idea. I like even Evan Rodriguez as an idea. We talked about some of these ideas in our Discord, which, by the way, Everydayers Club, jump in. Go to lockedonsabres.supercast.com. You get a free month if you sign up right now. Use the promo code DEADLINE. So we approach the trade deadline, and you get ad-free versions of the show. You get into our Discord. If you like it, you can keep it. And if you don't, it's a couple bucks a month, and then you never have to pay. You can duck out if you want. So we were talking about former Sabres in there the other day, and someone asked me about Evander Kane because he's not a guy I've ever talked about at all for this, even though he's absolutely getting traded at the trade deadline. And there was a rumor that there are teams in the East that are interested in him. I'm a big, fat no on Evander Kane. Total no. I actually didn't mind him when he was on the Buffalo Sabres. That's my starting point here. I thought, all right, what do I got here? He's an amazing skater. He's really physical. He's good defensively. He was always good defensively. And he's got a nice shot. But, he was a little young then. Didn't understand fully. I also didn't work in the business at all then. So I didn't know at all how bad it was, how poisonous it was with him behind the scenes in terms of culture and what he did to that, what he kind of would mean to that locker room and all of it. Just wasn't the right dynamic. And he's gone on to have a career of a lot of that, right? Like, Winnipeg, it was true. Buffalo, it was true. San Jose, not as much. Edmonton, there was stuff along the way. There's always stuff. And he's a headache. He's become a headache in over, 16 years in the NHL. He's proven that. So messing with the dynamic of a group that has not had success before, to me, is not the best idea. If you have a solid room and you have strong veteran leadership at the top, like I'm talking the strongest leadership, like if you are the Penguins with Crosby. This was true when McDavid was in Edmonton. If you are the Avalanche with Nathan McKinnon, and you have got these, Kobe Bryant level leaders at the top of your franchise, then you take that guy in and trust that your culture is strong enough that that guy's no threat to you. But Sabres haven't built that up over multiple years. It seems like it's going really well right now, but I just wouldn't want to mess with it by putting a player that's not that good anymore into it. If Kane was still a 30-goal scorer, then I think we would have a discussion here. But he's not that. He is a low-volume shooter, lower even than Owen Tippett. He's under 10% for his NHL career on shooting percentage. He's got 10 goals in 57 games this year. He is so much worse defensively than he used to be as a player. And the speed's dipped a bit as well. So I'm not getting the same player that I used to have. And you can make a good argument that even if he was the player that he used to be, that you wouldn't want him. So when I look at Kane, I'm a big no. The only benefit I would say to a team acquiring him is the one area I do think you have to give him somewhat is he does show up in the postseason. He has kind of become that guy. Ever since he left the Sabres, he's made the playoffs 6 times. He's played 97 playoff games. And in that time, he has 32 goals in the postseason. I could see that being a case for a team getting him to say, we know he's going to show up physically, and he's going to drive the other team nuts in an entire playoff series. That often did happen when he was in Edmonton. Sometimes, though, he would do some stupid stuff that would get them in trouble, too. You can bet on him showing up in the playoffs. But even that, not enough to make it worth it. In the last 41 games that Edmonton played, the last 2 playoff runs, he had 10 goals. That's, it's a 20-goal guy in postseason games. That helps, but not enough for me to put up with all the baggage that comes with it. So I'm going to give this an F. Also, by the way, he doesn't help in the power play at all. Another forward that just doesn't going to do anything for you there. Yeah. Evander Kane, F. Total F. And he cost some money along the way, too, even though it's the final year of his deal, $5.1 million. Okay. That'll do it for us. If you have a guy that you like for next week's trade deadline and you want me to talk about him, send him my way. And next week, we're going to have a lot of time to talk about different trade ideas. So I will take requests here. Like, I'll dig in on the contracts and the NHL Edge numbers and some of the more advanced stuff. And I watched a lot of Owen Tippett before this show, which, help me like the player a little bit more. So if you got a name that you want to throw my way, go for it. Twitter, and the best way, of course, would be our Discord. And to get into that, go to LockedOnSabres.supercast.com. We'll talk to you after Sabres and Panthers, and Sabres and Lightning this weekend as well, as they try to continue to boost their spot for a playoff spot. Talk to you then here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now your number 1 sports podcast network.